Hello everyone, I'm so happy to see you back on my channel today. We continue together with the tearful yet hope-filled story of single mother Hoai and Officer Hung, a love nurtured through hardship, through distance, yet overflowing with faith and patient waiting. In the previous episode, we witnessed a truly pivotal moment, Hoai quietly taking a pregnancy test in her small room. When the two red lines appeared clearly on the stick, her heart pounded with both excitement and heaviness. It marked the beginning of something new, a tiny life slowly taking shape within the fragile yet resilient body of a mother. And yet, Hoai decided to keep this truth hidden from Hung. She understood that he was far away, carrying the responsibility of protecting the people, and she didn't want this unexpected joy to become a burden that might distract him. From that moment on, Hoai lived in two opposite emotions, happiness at knowing she would soon welcome a little angel, and fear of what the future might hold, as she was still a single mother facing an uncertain life. On long nights, she would gently place her hand on her belly, whispering tender words to her unborn child, while outside, the night breeze rustled through the trees, as if bearing witness to and sympathizing with the heart of a woman who was fragile yet full of strength. Tony, the innocent boy, still played joyfully beside his mother, unaware that soon his little world would have a new companion, a sibling to share food, clothes, and above all, the boundless love of their parents. Each time Tony wrapped his arms around his mother and unconsciously pressed his cheek to her belly, tears welled up in Hoai's eyes, tears carrying joy, fear, and the sacred weight of motherhood that words could not fully capture. But deep inside, Hoai carried one great worry: when Hung returns, will she have the courage to reveal everything? Will he be ready to open his arms and embrace a life he never knew about? And will happiness truly smile upon them, or will storms once again sweep in to test their love and resilience? With each passing day, Hoai faced the changes in her body, the weariness of morning sickness, and the financial strain of raising a small family. Still, she persevered, going to the market, cooking meals for her son, quietly drawing strength from the photos Hung sent back from his post. For her, love and faith were the foundation to keep moving forward, no matter how unpredictable the challenges ahead. So, what awaits Hoai and Hung in the days to come? Will this sacred secret soon be revealed? And when the truth is laid bare, will they choose to hold hands and overcome together, or be torn apart by fear and prejudice? I invite you all to stay with me for today's episode, a chapter that promises many unexpected turns and deeply touching emotions, where together we will feel more clearly the strength of love, family, and faith within the human heart. From the early morning, Hoai already felt her body utterly exhausted. She held her belly as she stepped out of bed, her legs heavy as though they no longer obeyed her. The faint aroma of hot porridge drifting by only made her stomach twist violently, her throat tightening as if she might vomit at any moment. The bowl of porridge, still steaming on the table, remained untouched as she sat staring at it, unable to lift a spoon to her lips. Beside her, Tony, with his wide round eyes, innocently observed every movement of his mother. When he saw Hoai bend over, her face pale, he couldn't understand what was happening. His tiny hand tapped rhythmically on the tabletop, an unconscious way of calling her back, of offering comfort in the purest, clumsiest way a child who could not yet speak might manage. The sound of his babbling, mingling with the tapping, filled the room with a rhythm of innocence and unconditional love. Hoai tried to suppress the wave of nausea, lifting her head to look at her son. She forced a smile, a crooked, weary smile, hoping Tony wouldn't sense her unease. But her eyes betrayed her, for worry and fear flickered clearly within them. She knew her body was changing every day, and these harsh waves of morning sickness were only just beginning. Moments later, a sharp tightness spread across her lower belly, forcing Hoai to clutch the chair's edge and bend down. The pain brought beads of sweat to her forehead. She collapsed back into the seat, breathing heavily, her trembling hands gripping the table for support. In that moment, her mind was a tangled web of thoughts, fear for her health, concern for the tiny life within her, and guilt for keeping this truth from Hung. Seeing his mother sink to the floor, Tony clambered off his chair and toddled toward her. He placed his small hands against her knees, babbling softly, his eyes brimming as if on the verge of tears. Hoai bent down, pulling him into her arms, soothing him through her ragged breaths. The faint scent of milk lingering in her son's hair stirred within her a wave of indescribable sorrow. In the small house, morning light filtered through the cracks of the door, casting a pale golden hue over mother and child. Yet behind that seemingly peaceful scene was a silent battle, one that only Hoai bore alone. That morning, while Hoai was wearily tidying up the kitchen, a knock sounded at the door. Hearing it, Tony immediately lifted his head, his eyes lighting up as he toddled quickly toward the entrance. The wooden door creaked open, and in stepped Mrs. Ha, a kind-hearted woman with silver-streaked hair, carrying a basket of fresh vegetables still damp with morning dew. She had long regarded Hoai as her own daughter and often came by to check on her. Setting the basket down on the table, Mrs. Ha froze as she caught sight of Hoai's frail figure. Her pale face, heavy steps, and dark circles from sleepless nights spoke louder than words. Alarmed, she hurried over and asked in a worried voice, "My dear, what's happened to you? Haven't you been eating these past days? You look so thin." Startled, Hoai forced a weak smile. I'm fine, Mother. Maybe it's just the weather lately making me feel tired." Mrs. Ha sat down beside her, her wrinkled yet warm hands clasping Hoai's. She looked straight into her foster daughter's eyes, as if seeing through everything she tried to hide. "Don't keep secrets from me. I can tell something's weighing on your heart. Whatever it is, tell me. Don't bear it alone." Those gentle words broke down the wall holding back Hoai's tears. She lowered her head, her shoulders trembling. Tears fell heavily onto the back of her hand as she choked out, "Mother. I'm pregnant." The small room fell silent. Mrs. Ha froze, her eyes widening, her hand trembling as it held on tighter. Her heart skipped a beat, unsure whether to feel joy or sorrow at such startling news. She gripped Hoai's hand more firmly, her voice quivering. You mean it? You're really expecting a child?" Hoai nodded, eyes swollen red, crying like a child. "Yes, Mother. I never imagined it. But I don't dare tell Hung. I'm afraid he'll worry, afraid it will affect his work." Mrs. Ha pulled her into an embrace, gently patting her back. Her mind was a swirl of emotions, happiness that Hoai would have a new source of joy, a little angel to warm her life, yet also deep concern. Hoai wasn't yet officially married to Hung and still had to raise little Tony on her own. The road ahead would be far from easy. "My dear girl. I truly am happy for you. But I worry too. Carrying everything by yourself, can you endure it? You must be strong. And someday, you must tell Hung love cannot grow on secrets forever." Hoai buried her face into Mrs. Ha's shoulder, sobbing so hard that words could no longer form. Tony stood beside them, wide-eyed, not understanding why his mother was crying. He reached out his tiny hand to touch her sleeve, babbling softly. That tender moment deepened Mrs. Ha's compassion and strengthened her resolve to protect her foster daughter as if she were her own flesh and blood. Mrs. Ha sat in silence for a long while, her eyes filled with concern. Morning sunlight streamed through the cracks of the wooden door, casting a glow on her silver hair and accentuating each wrinkle at the corners of her eyes. She looked at Hoai, her weary face, pale skin, and shadowed eyes from sleepless nights, and her heart tightened painfully. The foster daughter she loved as her own was now carrying a heavy burden, struggling alone in this small house. At last, unable to hold back any longer, she clasped Hoai's hand. Her rough, bony yet warm hand gripped her foster daughter's tightly. Her voice trembled, yet carried firmness and deep affection. "My dear, why don't you move in with me? There, I can take care of you, and you won't have to face everything alone. At the very least, you wouldn't be left struggling with all these hardships by yourself. As for Hung, leave that to me. I'll tell him, so his mind can be at peace and he won't carry hidden worries. You can't let everything weigh down your fragile shoulders anymore." The proposal fell gently yet earnestly, like a lifeline thrown into stormy seas. But Hoai's heart wavered violently. She lifted her tear-stained face, eyes red and swollen, tears sliding down her cheeks, mingling with long-hidden pain. She shook her head quickly, her voice breaking, trembling as if it might shatter. "No, Mother, please don't. I don't want Hung to know right now. I only want him to give his all to his duty, not be burdened with worrying about me. If he knew, I'm afraid he'd lose focus and carry another weight on his heart. I can endure it, I'm used to it. All I need is for you to stay beside me, when I'm tired, when I'm weak, I just need a place to lean on, that's all, Mother." Her words fell like heavy raindrops on parched earth, weighted with sorrow and restraint. Hearing them, Mrs. Haw's heart sank even further. She longed to shoulder every hardship in her daughter's place, yet she understood that this was a choice born of Hoai's deep love for Hung, a silent sacrifice, brave yet painful. Unable to restrain herself, Mrs. Haw pulled Hoai into her arms, holding her frail body tightly. She gently stroked her tangled hair, damp with sweat and tears. A sigh slipped out softly, carrying all her worry, helplessness, and boundless love. "Oh, my poor child. I know you are strong, but even strength needs support. Don't ever forget, you are not alone. I will always be here whenever you need me. May heaven have mercy, granting you and the little one inside you safety and peace through every storm." In that warm embrace, Hoai wept uncontrollably, releasing all the bottled-up anguish she had carried for so long. At their feet, Tony clung to his mother's hem, wide eyes gazing in confusion at his mother and foster grandmother. Seeing her tears, he babbled clumsily, his tiny hand reaching out to touch her arm, as if to say, "Don't cry, Mommy, I'm here with you." The little house sank into silence. Only Hoai's muffled sobs, Mrs. Haw's sighs, and the warmth of their embrace remained, a bond of maternal love, invisible yet unbreakable, tying together lives not linked by blood but by devotion as deep as kinship. In that moment, worry still lingered, the future remained uncertain, but at least Hoai knew she was not truly alone on the difficult road ahead. While back home Hoai was struggling with increasingly severe morning sickness, far away in the remote mountains, Hung was enduring long, difficult days of duty. The misty peaks were veiled in dawn fog, winding paths like silver threads stretched across the mountain ridges, twisting and turning, vanishing into cliffs that loomed on both sides. The wind howled through ancient trees, carrying a biting chill that seeped into the skin. Fine drizzle fell, clinging to his hair and clothes, mixing with the sticky red soil beneath his feet, making each step heavier and more treacherous. The work team trudged along, one after another. Hung walked in the middle, his cloth shoes soaked with mud, his shoulders weighed down by a bag of documents and an old loudspeaker. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the cold air. Every step pressed upon his willpower, yet his eyes shone with determination. He knew what lay ahead: responsibility, the trust of the villagers, and the ideals he had chosen. When they arrived at the village, the people gathered in the damp courtyard. Dilapidated thatched roofs smoked faintly, blending with the fog to form a hazy veil. Hung and his colleagues spread a raincoat on the ground as a makeshift mat, set down the loudspeaker, and patiently began their session. His deep, steady voice rose above the howling wind. Everyone, for life to become less burdensome, for the children to have schooling, we must practice family planning. Early marriage and too many children too soon will only make their futures harder. The villagers' eyes reflected mixed emotions, curiosity, doubt, some nodding thoughtfully yet still hesitant. A few village elders posed tough questions, even objections. Hung did not rush. He listened attentively and then explained slowly, carefully. Despite the biting cold, he kept a warm smile, handing out leaflets one by one though they were drenched with rain. Deep in his heart, the word responsibility was engraved, and it fueled his resolve to sow seeds of knowledge in these distant mountains. As evening drew near, the fog thickened, and faint glimmers from kitchen fires in stilt houses flickered in the mist. The team packed up to head back, but the return was no easier. Muddy, rock-strewn paths gleamed slick as though oiled. Hung volunteered to walk last, ensuring no one was left behind. At a steep slope, as his foot landed on a rain-slicked stone step, it suddenly slipped. A sharp thud echoed as his body crashed onto the muddy ground. Pain seared from his ankle up his shin, draining the color from his face. He clenched his teeth, trying to push himself up, but the moment he lifted his foot, it quivered and gave way. Cold sweat mixed with drizzle on his brow. Struggling for breath, he forced out, "I'm fine. I can manage, you all take the villagers back first." But his comrades refused. One quickly spread a raincoat on the ground for him. Another frantically pulled out a phone to call the health post. Voices overlapped, eyes filled with worry. They knew he was in excruciating pain, yet Hung still tried to reassure them, his gaze firm, unwilling to yield. After a rough splint with wooden sticks, they hastily made a stretcher of bamboo. Under the dim twilight, 4 men carried him across the slippery path. The squelch of feet in mud, mingled with heavy breaths, formed a hurried rhythm in the silent mountains. On the stretcher, Hung turned his head, his eyes unfocused, gazing toward the endless ridges. In that haze, images of Hoai and little Tony flickered in his mind, giving him strength to endure. Rain kept falling. The forest stood silent, save for the team's urgent footsteps carrying their injured comrade to the field hospital. In that space, amidst hardship and danger, the spirit of camaraderie shone brighter than ever, a bond of brotherhood that bound together those standing on the harshest front lines. After a round of examinations and x-rays with the hospital's limited equipment, the elderly doctor at the field clinic finally let out a sigh of relief. He turned to Hung's comrades and said, "Fortunately, it isn't a fracture, only soft tissue damage. But he must stay here for at least a day for observation. No strenuous movement, or it could worsen." At those words, everyone in the room relaxed, though Hung himself felt a strange sense of disappointment. He was used to the endurance and resilience of a soldier, accustomed to trekking through mountains, crossing streams, and climbing ridges. Yet now, because of one misstep, he lay immobile on a rickety iron bed with only a thin mattress. The cold glow of the fluorescent tube cast shadows across the tall, stained ceiling. Hung lay on his back, eyes fixed on the blank expanse above. A vast emptiness welled up inside him. He could clearly hear the dry ticking of the wall clock, the shuffle of footsteps in the corridor, and the faint groans of the patient in the next bed. The damp air mixed with the sharp scent of antiseptic, weighing heavily on his chest. In that silence, Hoai's face appeared vividly in his mind, her gentle features, her eyes always filled with both worry and tenderness. Then came Tony's innocent smile, the boy who would run around the yard, calling out Dad during Hung's rare visits home. These memories flowed through him like a cool spring, soothing yet also stirring an aching longing. He clenched his fist and bowed silently. I must recover quickly. There's so much waiting at home. Hoai, Tony, they need me. The thought felt like an oath, a promise that gave him strength to bear the throbbing pain in his leg. At one point, Hung reached for his phone. He wanted to call home, to hear Hoai's voice, to hear Tony's laughter and ease the loneliness pressing on him. But when the screen lit up, his finger froze above the call button. His eyes flickered with hesitation before he shook his head gently and sighed. No. I can't. If I call now, Hoai will only worry more. She's already struggling alone to raise our child. I can't burden her further. He set the phone down and turned his face to the wall, his heart restless but his lips sealed in silence. Outside, night had fallen, and the sound of rain drummed steadily against the rusty tin roof. In that humble hospital ward, Hung closed his eyes, surrendering to both longing and determination, anchoring them deep within each breath. While Hung lay on a cold hospital bed in the remote mountains, back home, Hoai was silently facing her own heavy moments. The afternoon drifted slowly by, golden sunlight slanted through the worn window frame, scattering patches of light across the floor. Hoai sat motionless by the window, her thin hands resting gently on her belly, where a small life was quietly growing day by day. Her gaze was distant, fixed on the hazy sky ahead. In her heart, there seemed to be an invisible emptiness, heavy and hard to put into words. Morning sickness wore down her body, but it was the fear and loneliness that gnawed at her spirit the most. Beside her, Tony, the innocent little boy who knew nothing of life's burdens, rested his head against her shoulder. His clear eyes slowly closed, his breathing soft and steady, as though no storms existed in the world outside. His tiny fingers instinctively clutched at the hem of her shirt, holding on like a small anchor, as if to say, I'm always here with you, Mom. Hoai bent down and kissed her son's soft hair. A choking emotion welled up in her chest. She wanted to be strong, to be his pillar, yet deep inside, she longed for a shoulder of her own to lean on. Little did she know, far away, the man to whom she was hiding her secret, Hung, was also lying in a hospital bed, enduring constant pain. He had no idea that Hoai was carrying a fragile new life inside her. And she had no idea that at that very moment, he was struggling with his own injuries. Two hearts, separated by distance, bound by the same silent torment. One endured in silence, choosing not to worry the other. One hid away, sacrificing her joy to protect his peace of mind. Across hundreds of kilometers, they were like two rivers running parallel, seemingly apart, yet always flowing toward the same shore, their love and the small family waiting for them. Outside, twilight descended, and the chilly autumn wind seeped through the cracks of the door. In the small house, Hoai held her child tightly, breathing out a quiet sigh. And at that very same moment, in the distant mountains, Hung turned his face toward the hospital wall, eyes closing, surrendering to the flood of longing within. Neither knew that, though separated, their hearts still beat in unison, the rhythm of love, of waiting, and of silent sacrifice. How long can Hoai keep that sacred secret hidden? While far away, Hung lies on a hospital bed with an unexpected injury, still enduring the pain to fulfill the sacred duty of a soldier. Back home, Hoai struggles alone with the exhausting waves of morning sickness, caring for little Tony while silently carrying a secret too heavy for her fragile shoulders. Two people, two distant worlds, seemingly separated by infinity, yet sharing the same burden, choosing silence, choosing endurance, so the other may rest in peace of mind. At that very moment, perhaps neither of them knew that their hearts were beating in unison. Hung lay in the field hospital, staring at the cold white ceiling, his mind filled only with Hoai's weary but resilient face and Tony's innocent smile. He longed to return, to hold both mother and child tightly in his arms. Meanwhile, at home, Hoai sat by the window, hands resting on her belly, whispering to the tiny life within, "I will protect you, no matter what." She had no idea that the man she was keeping this secret from was also suppressing his pain in silence, refraining from calling, afraid of making her worry more. Is fate testing them once again? The challenges no longer come only from distance, but from secrets, from silent sacrifices slowly tightening around both their hearts. What direction will their small family's fate take? Toward a warm, complete home, or will new storms arrive to wash away their hopes? The answer remains unknown, but the road ahead will surely not be easy. Tears will still fall, long nights still await, yet there will also be unexpected joys, sweet moments to stir their hearts. For above all, love is the flame that lights their path, the anchor that keeps them standing through every storm. And then, just one decision, one confession, or one unforeseen event could change the destiny of all three, Hoai and Tony. Will they hold hands and walk through it all, or face separation once again? Stay tuned for the next episode to witness the unexpected turns filled with emotion, where every moment, every glance could mark a turning point in their lives. Don't forget to leave your blessings and thoughts in the comments below, because your companionship, love, and faith are the very motivation that helps us continue writing these heartfelt and human stories.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình tiếp tục đưa đến với mọi người phần tiếp theo của câu chuyện về mẹ đơn thân Lý Hoài Ca và cảnh sát Hùng. Ở trong tập trước thì mình đã đưa đến với mọi người một phần của câu chuyện về giai đoạn mà khi Hùng nghỉ lễ và sau đó Hùng quay trở lại thì Hoài Ca đã phát hiện ra mình có bầu, nhưng hiện tại thì cô vẫn đang giấu kín cái bí mật này. Và liệu rằng cô còn giấu được lâu nữa không? Bởi vì mình cũng nghĩ rằng Hoài Ca nên nói sự thật này với Hùng, tại vì vì con chung của hai người thì Hùng cũng có quyền được biết. Nhưng chúng ta cũng hiểu cho Hoài Ca một phần là bởi vì cô cũng chỉ vì nghĩ cho Hùng, bởi vì cô nghĩ là trước đó chỉ có cô và Tony mà anh đã muốn nghỉ việc để ở nhà rồi, bây giờ mà còn biết cô có bầu nữa thì cô sợ rằng anh sẽ từ bỏ sự nghiệp của mình để ở bên mẹ con cô, chăm sóc mẹ con cô, nên cô mới đưa ra quyết định như vậy. Vậy thì chúng ta hãy xem những phần tiếp theo ở ngày mai nha.